Hey, what's up, guys? It's Josh with Paparazzi Imaging and Films. This is episode 11 of the Vignette podcast. As you can see, we have a guest on our show today, Blaine Stephenson. He's a pro champ in the ice oval arena part of snowmobile racing. So let's get into it. How long have you been racing ice ovals for?
Yeah, so we started back when I was 3. My birthday's in January, so I was I was almost 4, right? So in 1999, we went to our first race in Roseville, Minnesota. We're originally from like Thief River Falls area, so we started on the Kitty Cats and just kind of progressed from there into, we got into the big sled stuff and um, I was about 10. We started racing. We had a big sled, and we'd run on some of the big tracks and that kind of thing. And then after that, a couple of years later, I was probably 12. We got my first Sprinter. So that was our more full-time big tracks, and we went to kind of more recognizable places like Beausejour and Eagle River. And we followed the WSA tour at that point in time. Was still around even for the ovals. And then, some things flipped around, and we got into more of an amateur career in 2012 and got out of the juniors. So I was about 15 then. And then in 2014, we made my pro debut in the champ class. And really, my pro career's kind of taken off ever since then. It's been great.
Yeah, and how you've been, pro for how many years?
About 8, so not even 10.
Jeez. You've been on the sled for a very long time.
Yeah, it's crazy when you get to that point. You're racing against guys that you looked up to, PJ Wanderscheid, Dustin Wall, Nick Van Stridonk. You just line up with those guys, and it's pretty nerve-wracking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But getting into it and competing with those guys at a high level, it was really cool. Everybody treated you with some respect, and especially when you got a little bit faster, you're turning heads, and
Oh yeah,
it was really sweet. It was a lot of fun.
that's awesome. That's a accomplishment in itself to be looked up, or to have those guys, be acquaintances, friends with you.
Right.
Now.
Yep. It's crazy because snowmobile racing's not huge by any means as far as, especially on the oval side. We're a smaller group, but growing up, I didn't know PJ wasn't a celebrity, and he was like the coolest dude ever. So it was pretty cool to get to know him and race against him and all that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. How many races out of the year do you do typically? Because I don't really follow ice ovals. I'm going to get into it more this year. But what does the tour look like for you?
So USSA, they schedule anywhere from 8 to 10 usually Pro Star Cup tour races. They'll sanction a couple of them, although they've had a little bit of troubles just with the COVID years, and then some of our venues have had issues getting the right things to host races again. So this past year, I think we raced at 6 races, but we had 8 on the schedule. So I mean, it's enough. We do a lot of travel. Obviously, we go to the East Coast as far as Canada is concerned, and we still race in Manitoba and a couple of shots in Wisconsin. So in 2019, we raced like 13 races, and I think 12 of them were back-to-back.
Holy crap.
It was insanity. That was a long year.
Yeah. I'm sure you stayed in the trailer a lot that year.
See, we don't do that, though. We just hotel it.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, on the road, you're in the trailer a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Just spending the days at the racetrack. It was a lot. I remember getting to the end of that year. It was kind of like, okay, we're getting close to the end. It's
Right.
a lot of racing. So
That's insane. So it's almost close to like ISOC snowcross racing.
Yeah.
You kind of do the same amount of racing as they do because, like you said, snowmobile racing is very small in a sense, and the winter months are so short. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we rely differently on weather than the snowcross guys. It's 40 degrees out and they can make snow, which is wild. But for us, like, we need that hard freeze, and then they'll start building racetracks. Once, like Beausejour, they're out rolling the track, in a deep freeze as soon as they can get to 20 or 15 degrees, and then you start layering on the ice after that with water trucks and things like that. So Takes a lot of time, and we really need Mother Nature's cooperation, I think, more than others. There is a group that runs still mainly on lakes and ponds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like the Pro Star Cup stuff, that those days are kind of over. We'll see here. Mana was on the schedule. They were last year. They should be again this year. So we've done a few of those regional things, and I think like the snowcross guys, it's fun to get to a regional and you don't have as much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of go there and you get family to come, especially to the Minnesota races where we are, and relax a little bit, but still get that competitiveness out. And but yeah, it varies all over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That's sweet. I hope I can make it to a couple races this year because I'm really dedicated to snowcross. But I also, like I said, I want to get to a couple ice ovals. I've done the Valcourt in 14, 15, and I do believe in 16 up in Canada. And that was an experience in itself to see you guys just rip around a corner at 100 plus miles an hour. It's insanity.
It's wild.
And just the sheer sound,
Mm-hmm.
is crazy when you guys go past.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even, my ears ring for hours after that.
Yep.
It's like going to a concert and then when you're done, it's like, okay, am I talking really loud? You know what I mean?
Yep.
I couldn't even imagine what it is like for you guys in your helmet because you're right next to the, pipes.
Right. Yeah. When you're running next to somebody, especially leaning, and somebody's on your inside, it gets loud. But it's just something that kind of comes with it now, I guess.
Yeah. If you want to be in that arena, you got to play.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I guess like you talked about the rumors on as far as snowcross goes. What about Valcourt being on the tour for 2024? I mean, we could have a race all together.
For snowcross?
Yeah.
I didn't even know about that.
I guess I've heard it, but I don't know what the.
Okay. I'll redact my statement. I did hear rumors that they were going to try to do it last year.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like going away from Salamanca,
Okay.
or not going away from Salamanca, having another East Coast tour, but also like adding another stop, so then people could get more seat time for Salamanca.
Right.
And from my understanding, a lot of people were against it. They didn't want to travel all the way out there because it would be a pro show and it would be an amateur show.
Mm-hmm.
But in my opinion, it's like, why not just go out there and say that you did it? Because it's a good race.
Yeah.
Especially the last year that we were there. I want to say I was there in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a big drop down star and all that jazz, and it was a really good time.
Right. And the fans come out there in just groves of people.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, for sure. The first year that I was there was me and my dad went, and he was like blown away. He was like, you got to go outside and look.
Mm-hmm.
The food was really good.
Yep.
The things that they had going on around Valcourt, they had like helicopter rides or something like that. So there was a lot of things, going on.
It's a good show. It's something that I think a lot of races and venues and stuff could look at and get some good ideas on how to improve. I think Valcourt does a very good job of that.
Yeah. Their resources are second to none.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They want to put on a show.
Yep.
They
ran out of snowmobile parking and I think regular parking this past season. I mean, it was packed.
Holy crap. Yeah, the pits aren't that big.
No.
I remember the last time I was there, it was pretty tight.
Yep.
And cold.
And cold. It always is cold out there. Seems like we get a day of rain and like one day of like 30 below.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always fun.
Yeah. And you've won there a couple times, right?
Just once. We just won there this past year. Had some good runs, some runner-ups. In particular, we were leading one and I blew a belt, so we weren't able to wrap that one up. And then we missed 2 years because of COVID. I think the last 2 years we would have, those 2 seasons we would have been very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a bummer that we weren't able to go out there. But yeah, finally, and really that was the one that I had circled was Valcourt, just because we hadn't won it. It's a big race, kind of the last of the crown jewels that we had not wrapped up. But yeah, I was able to make it happen, and I love that track. It's so unique, and
Mm-hmm.
even this past year presented some unique challenges, and it's fun to race Matt there, and yeah, just a good time.
What was the feeling like winning there for you?
Like it probably goes back to, you know, I haven't probably had that much excitement since winning the Third Eagle River.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was just so jacked because, and I know some people it might not mean a whole lot, but Wall Brothers in particular, like Dave and Dustin and Terry, they've won there a lot, and just to bring it back home to the Wall camp, and I felt like that was just the one that was missing on the mantle, so
Mm-hmm.
that was
It's almost like Honda winning a Supercross championship or
that's right.
motocross.
Yep. Yeah, and we raced Polaris, and
Yeah.
it's Skidoo country, so
Yeah, exactly.
it's cool.
That's insane. I don't know how many Polaris has won there, but it's definitely Skidoo dominant.
It is, yeah. All the snowcross guys are due guys, so.
Mm-hmm.
But even it's, that camaraderie too. Elias was walking through the pits, and he's kind of looking around, and I flagged him down, and I was like, well, when do we get you on one? And he's like, no way, man. But it's cool to like have those guys walk through the hot pits while they're doing, their thing, whether they got practice or heats or whatever. And then when our day is done, they're usually still going, so you get to go out and watch the pro final on the track and stuff. It's, that type of camaraderie between ovals and snowcross, I think it could exist in a lot more facets. But yeah, it was good, real good.
That's sweet. That's so you kind of dive into watching Supercross and motocross and snowcross as much as you do with ovals.
Yes, I'm a racing snob as far as like Formula One I still watch quite a bit of NASCAR nowadays, but yeah, pro motocross, Supercross, and then I'm tuned in on every snowcross race. Just
Mm-hmm.
it's been something that snowcross was always so nice because it was free. You didn't have to do anything, and you could watch all the races. Well, I got used to that, and
Yeah.
we talked about the Flow subscription a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
I've got quite a few good friends. I feel like now that do race. Evan Doubt's a good buddy of mine, and I talk to Kirkmeyer a lot, and Nick Lorenz. There's just a bunch of guys that I follow and kind of keep tabs on, and I just like to see where the Polaris guys are at in general. So yeah, a lot of racing.
That's cool. Are you into dirt track as well, or no?
A little bit, yep.
Okay.
So like the World of Outlaws, I'll check into. Their subscription is really expensive, so I don't do that one.
Yeah,
but I'll watch
yeah.
the highlights on YouTube the next day type
Mhm.
of deal. So.
Well, if do you have the flow?
Yep.
But that flows. Well, no, because if you're watching World of Outlaws, it's different from flow.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the one thing that it's pretty close to like the one thing that Flow doesn't have, but Flow's got that high limit deal with Kyle Larson sprint cars, so I've tuned into those and stuff. So
Mm-hmm. That stuff is still insane too.
those guys are nuts.
I'd compare you and those guys to me.
Those guys, it's like it's flat out, and I know that there's a lot of times that we're pretty close to flat out, but that is just like you don't lift
Yeah.
in a 2,200-pound sprint car. It's
Yeah.
insane.
I've been next to a couple of them. I've shot a couple dirt tracks. I've been to Knoxville a few times and been to Buffalo. I think is it Buffalo River in Fargo?
Yep.
Been there, shot that venue. It was insane.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of wrecks though.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
It's full commitment, like the whole time. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And just the way the steering is too, it's like it's
Right.
insane.
Because they're not like sitting like a car, right?
No.
They're like it's like a bench seat.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Almost like how we're sitting now, but if we had a
Yeah,
steering
exactly. Your steering wheel in your lap.
wheel. Yeah. No, thank you.
Right.
No, thank you. So correct me if I'm wrong. When you started, did you show up in a Honda Civic with a kitty cat?
Not quite. I think we had a dually F2 or 350 though, and that's how we showed up to our first race.
Okay.
So it was, it's pretty low key when you get into racing like that, and I think for years we ran out of like a 12-foot trailer, and at that point in time, you raced every class you could. So my dad had like specific spots for all the kitty cats and 120s, and the toolbox went here, and then we didn't have we had barn doors on the back of it, which was probably a mistake, but you just had those flaps, those plastic flaps down, and that's what kept your heat in. But
Yeah.
it was
Almost like a meat.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
Meat freezer.
Yeah. But it was a great time. I still keep in touch with a lot of lifelong friends that made kitty cat racing. It's pretty crazy how those people, and social media makes it easier to keep up to date with a lot of people that you don't get to spend a lot of time with. But even Tom Reichel, Tom pretty
Yep.
good, and that's where I got to know Tom, and just growing up doing that, it's crazy the network it brings.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even here before the show started, like I asked you what was the reason behind you following me? And you said it was social media pretty much, and that's really cool in itself. And I kind of get to know you a little bit more because of it. And,
Right. Yep.
and maybe, like I said, I'll come out to an ice oval and, maybe we could do an Instagram
Right.
video or something like that,
Yep.
Sky's the limit for anything, really.
That's right.
And I like that. I like that portion.
Yep.
And then you also mentioned that your sister raced too.
Yeah, it's been a family affair like my whole life. Haley, my sister Haley, she came to our first race, and she had been real young, but she eventually got into racing, and she enjoyed it. But just as we grew up, when we transitioned to the big sleds, she kind of got out of it. She did race my F500 once or twice in some women's stuff, but yeah, just growing up, and we turned our focus to the pro side and had a lot going on there. So she kind of willingly gave it up, and we were able to focus everything on the champ.
Nice. You being the champ.
Yeah. Champ sleds, yeah. Right.
Yeah, because you're what, a 3-time Eagle River champ?
4-time.
4-time?
Yep.
Okay.
So we won it 4 years straight, 2018, 19, 20, and 21. Just the wildest 4 years that you could ask for as an oval racer. It's that race has only been won 4 times by 2 different guys, myself and Wanderscheid. And only the longest streak was only back to back. So I knew when we went in there in 2020 was the year that we had the chance to three-peat, and our sled was so fast. I think in time trials we were up like a half second on the field.
Wow.
Over 2-lap average. So I had a mishap in we qualified on the pole. We won the Friday night deal to take the pole, and then in the race took the lead and then got spun out and had to actually restart in the back. So after that we drove back up through the field and we were able to win that one. So that was pretty insane. So
Jeez.
it was good, and it's the past couple of years we've had a few heartbreaks, but that's kind of how racing goes.
Yeah, everybody goes through it. Yeah. In any type of racing, I don't know how, even if you're dialed to the T, it's still something's going to go wrong.
Right. Well, and that was I thought one of the most impressive things about the 4-peat was we'd never had mechanical. And maybe I had spoke about it too soon or thought about it too soon, because the next year we had a mechanical.
Yeah.
But that was a testament to what walls do, and everything from not blowing a belt, or we run drive belts on our champ sleds, so not blowing one of those belts, not having any motor issues, even as dumb as fouling a spark plug somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and then in 2022, that nightmare became a reality type of deal with a wire harness, but that's how it goes.
Wow, that's kind of rare.
It was. So like we were kind of talking on the F3s, we get everything stripped down, and then we have to basically build it back up with suspensions and and different steering columns and tunnel, all that kind of stuff.
It's basically a one-off sled made for you.
Yeah, they're, walls sell a kit now where you can buy it and do that type of thing. But when we rerouted, the wire harness apparently didn't go in the right spot. So we had it was the kill switch was grounding itself to the frame.
Oh.
So it wouldn't run. It didn't show itself till Sunday, and
That sucks.
yeah, it was like
No.
during practice I did it for the first time. It's like sweet. And then they do all the ceremony stuff there, and on the parade lap, it shut off like 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, I kind of knew that right there it was over, but I must have pulled the thing over 60 times just trying to get it to go.
Yeah, hoping that it would turn over.
Yep.
Jeez, yeah, that's a massive heartbreak.
Yeah, the racing gods didn't see it, so I think that year we had an okay shot to win. I don't think we were favored by any means, but this past year, it was just a late red and didn't work out in our favor, so it happens.
Yeah, like you said, it's part of it.
It's part of it.
There's nothing that you can do.
Right.
Even all the knocking on the wood you want to do, it's something's gonna happen eventually. Right.
And yeah, you just you go every year into preparing a lot for that race, so that's what stings the most, I think, is you don't get an opportunity to, or you kind of have it wrapped up, and everybody that works on our team works really hard, and there's a lot of long hours and testing and a lot of driving, all that kind of stuff. So when it doesn't work out like that, it's kind of a sucker for everybody.
Yeah, almost like the Eli Tomac issue in Supercross.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a total bummer.
That was a huge bummer, man.
Yeah, he had it wrapped up.
Yeah. Especially like you're leading that race, you're going to go into the last round with 15 points.
Yeah, exactly. At least he was still in second, though. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it would have been a total bummer if he got like third or fourth or dropped down significantly.
Right.
But Cooper kind of having his issues too kind of helped him.
Yep.
Yep.
And
then like, what's your? We're gonna get off a little topic here, but it's we'll get back on. What's your take on the whole Eli Tomac to Chase Sexton thing? Do you think that Chase was handed the championship, or do you think it was more so the consistency of Chase Sexton being there no matter if he was going down on his own with, knife in the front end and a couple corners, whatever the case may be. But do you think it was?
So I think Chase Sexton in that period of time, he put himself in the position that he needed to be in, right? Mm-hmm. And even, we haven't talked about the 2018 World Championship, but that's kind of how it happened for us.
Yeah.
Stuff just kind of falls in place.
Was that a belt?
No, so it was a last lap caution. The guy who had led for a while, I think he fouled the plug coming back for the restart, and then we didn't get that great a restart. We're running third. The leader spun, took the guy out in second, and we ended up getting back to the line with the lead.
Oh.
And that was my first pro win, which is just wild. But, I think of Chase in that same aspect, right? Like it wasn't his fault that Tomac got hurt.
Yeah.
He just happened to be there. And I think if Sexton was a lot more, consistent as far as how he had ridden, what times when he was leading and tipped over, he would have had a decent-sized lead at that point in time as far as points.
Yeah, wasn't he the points champion or points leader at a small point of the?
I think he was like round 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah.
With Webb mixed in there too. But yeah, he just crashed when he was leading. So I think this championship will help him grow as far as that goes. Just to been there, done that. Mm-hmm. So I think his confidence will really shoot up. But I guess we'll see with Jet Lawrence. That kid's amazing.
The dude's an animal.
He's an animal, yeah.
He is a straight animal. Same with Hayden Deegan.
Yeah.
All the young and up and comers are hungry.
Yep.
How many of those guys are in ice oval racing? Like how many young kids you can see that they're really, really pushing the envelope?
Right. So we actually have a pretty good crop of young guys coming up through the champ class. and it's wild because just a couple years ago it feels like they're racing 120s and coming into the trailer to get autographs and stuff, and now we're racing them. So, in particular, Calvin Peterson comes to mind just because he podiumed the last race of the year, and he's 17.
Okay.
And, I mean, just fast.
Wow.
He's got some growing to do, but I mean, every 17-year-old does. So, I think it's in a good spot. We have, I'm 27. I'm on the higher end of the age gap now. Even my teammate, he's 34, so I'm not that old, I guess. But yeah, it looks good. The future looks good. There's a lot of young guys coming up, and you just want them to stay hungry. And I think Levi Ensrud touched on it, on keeping these guys motivated when they're not winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big deal as far as, just having some of that mental strength to keep pushing through tough times. We ran into some where I didn't win a pro race for my first 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then, everything just starts to click. And I think that comes with experience and time, and tuning is a big deal, especially where we race. So, I just want those guys to stay motivated and hungry. And as long as I can, I'll keep giving them a target to chase.
Good. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And he also did touch on having fun too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just being mentally strong when the times are tough, or if you break a belt or any circumstances. It's, you got to go out there and you got to remember that you got to have fun.
Yep. Yeah, I think that is a big deal too.
And that's probably why you're in the position that you're in, because you just want to ride your snowmobile and have fun.
Right. Yep. It's a big part of it.
Yeah. Because you started when you're so young, and every time that you got on that snowmobile, swung your leg over that seat, you just wanted to have fun.
That's right.
Yep.
But
at being a professional now, what does that look like for you? Is it still the same fun that when you first started, or is it like a different type of fun?
I think it's different. I'm like 10 out of 10 competitive, and my wife could speak to it. Like we go golfing, and it's like I've got to beat her type of a thing. But
so you don't let her beat you?
No, she's a pretty good golfer. So I leave the course with my tail between my legs every now and then.
So you're like a Happy Gilmore?
Yeah, kind of.
When he's at the putting range?
Yeah, right.
with the clown?
Yep. So, but I have fun while we're winning. I do struggle a little bit when we're not, and the frustrations and that kind of thing. Our team is really good, and that's what I think keeps motivating me to just, not be too emotional. I struggle with that, I think. But yeah, it is fun at the end of the day, and that's what we're there to do. It's fun when we win. It's it's fun to podium and stuff like that too. But it being a family ordeal and some of our closest friends, we have a good time doing it.
And being at the professional level too, what is that like?
It's pretty, it's cool. It's something for a long time I did dream of, racing champs, and we were really competitive in the amateurs and the junior classes. We would win a lot of races, and I would always just look at the pro class and be like, man, I just want to do that. I want to do that. But my parents, thankfully, they held me back, and instead of going right to the pro class when I was 16, like a lot of guys did, we went a different direction and ran a couple of more of an amateur deal for a couple of years. A lot of the reason was to get myself to develop, but another reason that I learned later was, my dad was scared to tune. Maybe not scared is not the right word, but he felt like he needed to learn more. And I think we needed to learn more as far as adjustments and all that kind of stuff. And we did. We learned a lot in those 3 years. But it was always that burning desire to get to the pro class and compete. And we had a couple of good runs my rookie season. We almost got a podium even. We ran fourth a couple times. But but yeah, it was it was a big transition, and I really don't care what you're going into, whether it's from the Xfinity series to the Cup Series in NASCAR or 250s to 450s. Like the pro guys, they've got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys with a lot of experience, and yeah, just got to keep plugging away.
Mm-hmm.
That's
sure.
kind of what we did.
That's cool. That's cool. So like you said, you didn't just jump into the pros. You took your time and you developed yourself, because that is a big jump. What if you did it too early and you were just like, this is too much, I don't want to race anymore, and you kind of get into that mindset.
It would kill the fun out of it, right?
Yeah.
If you're struggling to make finals and that type of thing, if you just don't have any speed, I can see why it's easy to just say, heck with it. I really don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Back to the whole mindset thing, like you were saying.
Yep.
It's insane how much that stuff really weighs in on your future career.
Yep.
I for example, look at Hayden Deegan. He was dominating the amateur ranks, and then you could say the same thing for Adam Cincerulo. And that's tough for him because he had multiple injuries through his pro career that set him back even going into the 450s. It's like he had a target on his back, and now it's like nobody really talks about him anymore.
Right.
And it sucks because he's still a top guy.
He is, yeah.
He only won 250 championship.
I think so.
Yeah, one of the on the lights bikes.
Right.
And I don't remember what coast, but it was just like.
Well, I can't remember if he started off in East or West, but like when he was a rookie and he was 16, remember they popped his shoulder back in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he had the red plate at that point in time.
Yeah.
And I think he is a really good example of, just, injuries have hampered him, a lot. But, I think the best guy to relate yourself to as far as any type of racing is Cooper Webb. The dude is just, he's not the fastest guy.
No.
He wasn't when he was winning championships.
No. So you could say the same thing about Ryan Dungey.
Right. Just like the grit to keep working and continue to better yourself, and just have that belief in yourself that it's going to work out. Or, even for Webb, I thought when Webb signed with KTM, I was just like, really?
Yeah.
But it was a good move for both parties, right? So, and I think the younger guys in any sport, I think that's the type of mentality, be that killer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That he once was when he was on the star team when he was winning championships.
Yeah.
Because then I do remember watching an interview that Roger DeCoster was like, he gave me a phone call and he reminded me of my 250 days. He talked to me as if I was riding a 250, and that's what he wanted.
Right.
And I do believe that there's a rumor that he's going back to Star.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
But how does Honda let Sexton go now? There's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think Honda may give Sexton a contract, but I heard also that Chase has inked the paper with KTM.
With KTM, yeah.
It sucks for Honda.
It does, but then again, they've got Jet.
Yeah.
And Hunter.
Yeah. So. I think Honda shoots their own self in the foot when it comes to having pro guys and those top guys.
Having a lot of talent in the
well, not even that.
trailer.
I think when it comes to contracts, they don't pay a lot, and that's why people move.
Yeah.
Why is Chase moving? Right. Obviously, he's after the money. Right. KTM wants him, and I think KTM has a lot more budget to sway when it comes to that because they got 3 manufacturers.
Yeah.
And they just bought that big, huge, brand new building.
That huge building. Yeah. It's really nice.
They're major investors into the sport.
Yep.
And I'm sure the same. You can say the same thing when the new bikes come in from Ducati. I've heard is coming into Supercross.
Okay.
There's
Triumph.
Yep. And I think there's what's the other one? And it's an Italian brand, and they make.
I think I know which one you're talking about, but I can't name it.
Yeah. So there's a lot.
Yep.
And there's actually, a couple of those brands are actually looking at Cooper Webb
Yeah, okay.
aside from Star Racing. But it's all here and there.
Yep.
You really can't nail anything down. But I don't want to get down to motocross too much.
Right.
That's not what we're here for. And you kind of talked about what kind of keeps you racing, what motivates you. So we'll kind of skip that one. What is your biggest achievement from racing? Was it being the 4-time Eagle River champ?
Yeah, I think so. I look back in those days and I have a lot of pride in what we accomplished. I mean, it's by no means just myself. We put together 4 very good sleds for 4 years in a row. Got lucky. We were dominant at times. We won them in a bunch of different fashions. So, yeah, I think that's kind of what, ultimately that's what I'll hang my hat on. And I'm not sure how many more years. I'd like to race for a long time, but we'll see. As far as racing in general or racing there or, kind of all of it. We'll see where my career goes or what we decide to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think too, I've been pretty close to winning Eagle River, Valcourt, and Beaujeu all in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't quite gotten that done. So, but I'm really proud to have those 3 kind of crown jewels on my resume and just to look back to. So when we were privateer, before we were racing with Walls, that season, so we won the world championship. It was a bit of a, kind of a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
But then later that year, we won two of the TLR Cup finals.
Mm-hmm.
And we finished second in points, and that was just us. That was we had our help from Polaris, and we had Run and Walker Evans Shocks, but it was my dad, myself, Alan Dahlke, and Greg Beener, and that was
a very small team.
Small team. We
Wow.
didn't have a whole lot of experience, but we definitely made hay where we could, and that was just to kind of set it straight that it was no fluke at Eagle River.
Yep.
That we were in position to win it.
Mm-hmm.
So I look back on those and I'm really proud of that too. Those 2 wins.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And you got trophies up here to show that too.
We got a lot of trophies, yeah. Kitty cat days and
a lot of trophies and a lot of sled parts.
A lot of parts too, yeah. Yeah.
That's sweet. I would have to agree. If I was in your position, I'd say that the Eagle River and all those.
Yep.
For sure.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Favorite venue through your career and least favorite venue?
So, I've really liked Eagle River ever since I was young.
Is it just because it's racy?
Yep.
Okay.
Gives you options. Recently, it's kind of become more of a, it's been really dirty the past couple of years, so it makes it interesting that way. But Valcourt is so fun. I mean, you go into turn 3 and you're wide open and you just pray that the bank is going to catch you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at like 100 miles an hour. So that one's always been, ever since we started going there. And when we moved to the wall team, Dustin was always really good. Dustin's one of the Wall Brothers members. And he won there like 4 times, I think.
Wow.
And so I was just like, I can't figure turn 3 out.
Mm-hmm.
He says, okay, we'll walk out there. We'll wait till racing's done. So we're walking on the track, and I'm just talking in his ear. Yeah, if I come to here and I do this, and then I break here or let off here, whatever. He's just like, shut up. Like, oh. So we keep walking into the corner, and he goes, can I swear on this?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so we walk into the corner, and it's like deep into turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, you see that hay bale there? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you drive from there to here, and you don't fucking let off, he says. Ever since then, I've been pretty good at that track, so it was just funny. And,
words of encouragement.
Words of encouragement, yeah. Don't fucking let off till you're right here. But it's some of the best advice I've ever gotten there, and I really enjoy that track. It's racy, it's got passing, and I just enjoy Valcourt.
Nice.
Yep.
And least?
The least, I struggle when we go to Wausau. We've figured out how to win there a couple of times now, but it's just kind of a circle.
That's a smaller venue, isn't it?
It is, yep.
What is that, eighth?
Maybe not quite, but I'd say between 3/8 and a quarter by the
Okay.
time you like go around the inside bank. And then it's kind of weird. The banking isn't enough to get a second groove, but it's not flat enough, or they don't leave it to get rough enough to have a second groove. Just because everybody has to pound the bottom just to be fast. So we do go through ice there too, but yeah, it's more of a hole shot track, and once you get out front, you can just kind of lead and not do much. But the past couple of years, they've made some changes, and we've gotten some passing, and we were able to do some things. But yeah, that's been my biggest struggle probably.
I've been there for snowcross, and it does seem like it would be hard to. It seems like a one-line track.
Yep. Great venue,
Yep.
great people running it, but
A lot of memories there.
oh yeah,
There's huge memories.
yep.
I was there this past winter for a regional race, and it was like every time I see that place, it's like, all right, there's something new,
Yep.
that I missed the previous year, and it's really cool.
They keep building onto it, so it's cool. The 525 really isn't a group anymore, but that was in memory of Flip, and they did a lot of good stuff for the community around Wausau, and they're continuing that tradition on. So it's like I said, really good place. I just struggle with the track.
Well, maybe you should get some more words of encouragement there.
Yeah, right. I hope to bring Dustin out and see where I got to go this time.
Yeah. That's quite funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. You had to be really shocked when he said that.
Yeah, and it's Dustin's personality. Anybody that knows Dustin knows he'll tell you that type of thing.
Keeping it real.
Yeah, he is. This is the way I would do it. But it's being part of Wall Brothers is really cool for that reason. So the Wall Brothers thing is Dave and Dermott started it back in the 80s, and they raced. Obviously we're still racing today, but they do build a lot of like they build the champs, and then they're building the kits for the F3s, and my F500 has mainly Wall Brothers parts, and so everything that we do and test and we learn, that all goes back into the business. And so we sell what we race. I have people up and down swearing that our F3 is different than everybody else's, but it's the same damn thing.
It's confirmed, people.
It is, yeah. But yeah, so Dave and Dermott, obviously they work really hard they've grown their business. They're well reputed. They'll give their shirt off their back to make you go faster type of people. And Dustin continues that. And then the guys in the shop, they're all Walls, right? They're all part of the family. So, so yeah, I mean, it's, they're very realistic people on this is where we're shooting for. This is what we're kind of going for. And obviously we joined with them in 2019. So the past 4 years, 5 years, 6 years coming up, it's been really good. It's been like the best move I could have made for, they came to us really to drive their sleds, and it's what's made the rest of my career after that first 2018. So
Right. And there's not really a lot of people that are kind of scouting people. It seems like in the snowcross or snowmobile racing industry,
Right.
It's kind of hard now that the tide has kind of turned as far as snowcross or snowmobile racing goes.
right,
Like,
everything's a family team.
yeah, and your sled here, your champ sled, you had Jimmy John's on it.
Yep.
So like a lot of the sponsored deals are gone too, it seems like.
Right.
And I if I remember correctly, I think Robbie said in his podcast is that it's more family money coming in.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think we do see that, on all aspects. Obviously, the pro guys and the manufacturers, they're sticking big money into their guys, but and I think Jimmy was a rare case of a guy that was successful in business and really loved racing, and that's why he was on Walls sleds. He was in the NASCAR series. He was on the Boss sleds. You kind of saw him everywhere.
Yeah.
And then once he sold out of the business, it kind of just faded away.
Yeah.
So if you can find those guys that are enthused about it, I think those are the people we need to talk to.
Yeah, for
They're
sure.
tough to come by.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know how many people there are out there that really love racing, in general, because there's a lot of people out there with a lot of money, but it's like, do they really see where's the return is what I would say.
Right.
They're always asking what's the return,
And that's a fair question.
Yeah, it is for sure, because anybody wants a kickback from something,
Yep.
But it's like you as a racer, you started very young. You didn't get any money. You didn't win anything. But now that you're at the pro ranks, it's like you develop that. And I think people forget where they started at some point,
Right.
And then you gotta figure out that equation again as far as your investment. It's gonna take time, but it'll come slowly.
Yep.
Jimmy John's at one point, nobody knew who they were.
Right.
I didn't know who they were until I moved to the Midwest.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to build that reputation,
I agree.
But it seems like that's with every type of racing.
And it really is. You look at, the top flights of motorsports and Formula One or NASCAR or IndyCar. I mean, it can be a lot of that where it's at that point in time, they're getting some pretty good marketing revenue out of it, but there are also just a lot of guys that love racing that are putting their names on cars because they want to.
Yeah, yeah. And you also have the social media push too.
Yes.
Which is a big driving
Huge.
force.
Yep.
I can't remember how many followers you have on Instagram.
Oh, I think I'm at 2,800 or something.
Okay.
So I've got a decent count for the oval side. But yeah, I mean, it's a struggle
Yeah.
to build and
if you had more and more and more, it'd be, you may have more people looking at you to sponsor. That's the goal, as far as like getting sponsorships.
Yep.
Well,
I think even diversifying what you do. Instagram is so big, but YouTube is becoming huge.
Yeah.
And it was not my idea, but we started have you seen the vlog at all?
I haven't. No, I didn't even know you had one. I'll check it out though.
Yeah, you gotta check that out. So,
and I'll link it in the bio too for you guys.
Yeah, but even that was my wife. She works in marketing, and that was kind of her brainchild. You should start this vlog, and the first couple ones are kind of rough, but that's part of it. It's
part
growing
of it.
And people kind of love the behind the scenes stuff, and now to get 5,000 views on it in a couple days isn't too tough. So, I think that's, and obviously you see it in snowcross with SeaTac and K2s, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
more personality, really.
Yeah, and people like to see that.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to become something too that is a sponsorship generator. And I know you can make money off of YouTube and stuff, but it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
But even to get sponsors to help you out with this or that, or feature sponsor for even the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that's feasible because you're going to get eyes on the product and get to interview some people that are important to these businesses.
For sure, for sure. And I think it goes hand in hand with the personality side. I think it goes hand in hand with another thing that I've touched with Levi. I do believe is that the sport in itself, or any sport, supercross, motocross, you look at any kind of sport, NASCAR, they're getting to a level that it's getting too personable. Again, you could put your 2 cents in, but I feel like what's the rivalries?
Right.
Where's the drama developing? There really isn't, and I see it a lot in snowcross. I don't know how it is in ice ovals. And there's a question in here that I'm going to ask, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. You need the rivalries to pull people in.
Mm-hmm.
NASCAR was huge for the longest time because you had the Gordon and Earnhardt rivalry. And I talked to, one on my day job, I talked to one of these guys that's an old NASCAR fan, and I'm not sure how much you follow it, but Ross Chastain, he's got this reputation now of, I'm gonna move you, or he's making some moves that are questionable to people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's getting people to tune in, whether you like him or not.
Yeah.
And that's where you're, like you're saying, some of these personalities, and I think you do see that in snowcross where everybody is pretty buddy, and I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that.
No.
I mean, I went to both Elk Rivers, and I think it was the second one because it was Triple Crown.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure I saw some stuff from Elias and Cody Cam because they tangled on the first moto,
Mm-hmm.
and that stuff happens. But in snowcross, that's how a lot of passes happen, where it's going to be tight, it's going to be close. You even look at Supercross, that's how that is, and you look at like Jason Anderson's issues or his probation, it just is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So I think he can. It'd be tough to encourage it, right? Take a guy out, but that just adds to the excitement. It will draw people in, and overall, it's good for the sport.
Yeah. What do they say? Bad publicity is always good publicity too.
Yeah, something like that.
You need it. You need some sort of drama. I do believe that we kind of touched on your Formula 3 issue a little bit. You said it was what?
Yeah, something in the harness wire was shortened out.
Okay, and I have written down here was an ignition problem. Is that not correct?
No, that's right. We really didn't know what it was.
I think we talked about it though, right?
Yeah,
okay.
we talked about it.
And you kind of stated that it was kind of hard for you to take that in because you were in a position to win.
So in 2020, 2022, like the sled didn't even make it to turn one.
No, that's right.
So we'd won all of our qualifiers. I had messed up the Friday night deal, and that was on me. So we didn't win that. We actually got third. But what I'd figured out on Saturday and kind of how I thought the race was going to progress, I thought, I could sprint out to a decent lead and then just get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I burned the brakes off of it really bad on Friday night, so I was just going to not use the brakes, and that's, for me and my driving style, it's really, really tough.
Nice.
But yeah. But yeah, it just, it was spitting and sputtering on the way to the front stretch for driver intros, and then it spit and sputtered on the track stand on the front stretch, and then yeah, I mean, Junior was there and Scott was there from Polaris, so I mean, we had everybody looking at it. We unplugged our data system. We pulled the wires out of the Dragon button. We just everything. I was beating on the gauge, just trying to get anything to loosen up, but just wasn't meant to be. And that was tough because we still had the streak going, so it could have been, the first person to 5 and 5 in a row. But it happens.
Yeah. And was that a hard pill for you to swallow in that moment in time?
Kinda.
And did you how did you put that behind you as well?
Right. So that sled got sent to Polaris, and they found it was up in Roseau. They found it on Friday, the day before we left for the next race. So Walls grabbed it from Roseau and brought it down to Wausau. I think it was actually they found it on Thursday, and I was so upset. I was hoping I would never see the sled again.
Mm-hmm.
But we went out and we won those races the next week on the F3, and then we kept on making progress on the champs. So it's just kind of what I was saying. You gotta be mentally tough about it and just realize that those were the cards we were dealt. That was, can't go back and change it. So gotta pick yourself up and move on, and that's kind of what we did. I think actually this past year has been a little bit harder to swallow than that one.
Why is that?
So this past year's World Championship race was wild. Like I said, it's been really dirty the past couple of years. We're running through the dirt. It's kind of like, lap 350 at the Sioux where everything is dirt.
Yeah.
So obviously with our sleds, we want it to be hooked up, and I started off in third, made a quick pass for second on the second lap, and then Gady, he just motored, but I knew like if I gave him time, he'd come back to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got into lap traffic, and I cut it pretty close to a lapper, and I know I shouldn't have, but it almost spun me out, so I had to drive through the infield, and that was right through the dirt. And so at that point in time, I was like, okay, well, you either use the dirt to get you to turn after that, or like you're just out in the boonies. So I got to going, and actually at that point I was about a straightaway behind, but we got going and laps started winding down, and with like 4 to go, caught him and passed for the lead, and started motoring away. And it was the sled just got so good in the middle of the race, and it was because I'd lost all the traction in the rear. So all the studs were just shot. So then I got the white flag, and it was weird too. So on like I would have been turned into the infield on lap 6, and on lap 8, 9, and 10, I believe it was, I was showing the black flag. And I didn't know why, but usually they black flag us for ski loops. So obviously I can see the inside one, but I looked at the outside one, and that one was intact when I was going down the back straightaway. So I was just like, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure that because I got run into, I was pretty sure they were looking for the other guy.
Oh.
But then with like 3 to go, I got the lapper flag. So I was like, okay, so they're not scoring me anymore. Like, well, they're going to have to pry this out of my hands. So whatever. Then when I knew that they were still counting me, I came out of 4 for the final lap, and the flagman had the green flag, and he threw that, and he gave me the white. And then I got into turns 1 and 2 and got through 2, and then they call the red flag, and unfortunately that doesn't end that race.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'd used up every stud in the thing, and just no traction on the restart. So
oh man, that
got
sucks.
shuffled back to third, but yeah, it was tough. We probably had a good half straightaway lead, so it was wrapped up, but
Wow.
that's how close we were to number 5.
It was kind of just taken away from you.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at that one, if you look at the first one that we won in 2018, they're very similar to how we lost this past year and how we won that year. So, karma just catching up with me, I guess.
Jeez. You two aren't becoming friends.
No. Hopefully everything's settled.
Yeah.
We're even.
Okay. That's a lot to unpack, really.
Yeah.
But going back to the whole rivalry thing, and this might be a little controversy, who knows, but racing Gunnar Stern, you guys have a big rivalry from what I can see, and going back and looking through your portfolio, and you guys had a couple years where you swapped a couple words back and forth on social media, maybe in person. I don't know. I wasn't there, but maybe talk me through that whole process and why you guys aren't really friends.
Right. And it's funny because we were, right? I've known Gunnar since I was little. He raced kitty cats, but he raced it in Wisconsin. So we would see him at a few races, one race a year type of thing. So we knew who he was. And then through my junior career, like, he was just old enough that I never really raced him. But again, like, we knew each other from the kitty cat days, and we're kind of buddies. And getting into the pro class, he was working through college, and he ran, from my understanding, he ran cross country or track or both. So he didn't post a lot because at that point in time, if he would have had sponsors, even if it was unaffiliated to track, he would have had some retributions from the NCAA type of thing.
Wow.
So anyway, after like all of that ended, he switched to Skidoo, and then they, I think I know what the deal is with Mike Hool, but I'm not confident enough to like say it out loud.
Okay.
But they're racing Hool's stuff, which was Malcolm Chartier's stuff, which Malcolm was really fast for quite a few years. So they got into the dew camp, and
Hool is Speedworks, right?
so Mike is Steve's brother.
Okay.
So Mike would have raced ovals back in the day, and then he's continued through the oval stuff, helping guys like Chartier and now with Gunner. But he's got a program. Excuse me. Mike does. Mike's got a program for a lot of the dew guys. They're running Mike's chassis. They're kind of under the same clutching setups or clutching philosophy. So like Gunner, John Henke, Matt Gady, Peterson, Travis McDonald. They're all running that stuff. So they're all very competitive. Mike is a very good tech wise and really smart. So he knows what he's doing. But with Gunner, you can go back to like my second season as a pro. We were starting to run a little bit better, but he was winning. And I knew that we just had to grow as a team and a family and get better. And so like I said, we were buddies, and at some point in time, like every year, we were trying to go down to Chicagoland because he lives in Chicago, and we were going to stay at his house and go to the race and all that kind of stuff. But in 2018, obviously we took a step forward. He was the one who was leading after the restart, and then had a bit of an accident and just kind of took himself out of it. And we ended up winning that race. And then later in the year, at Luxembourg, the guy I had to pass for the win was him, and it was only on lap 6, so there was nothing controversial there. And then the last race that we won was in Luxembourg, and I passed him on the last lap. And it was a tight pass. It wasn't dirty. But when we started beating him, he just got a little sour, and I understand that. If you don't want to be beat. But the years that followed with Walls, and really 2020 is where it really took off. He supposedly, I think he thinks I squeezed him somewhere, and I knew that he was there. I can't tell you I remember that. But then we got to Eagle River, and when we were leading, I passed him for the lead in the World Championship, and on lap 7, I think it was, I ran a little bit different line, and I slowed up quite a bit, but he does not use the brake, and he piled into me and spun me out, and luckily the sled was okay and everything. So, but he broke a ski loop, so he was automatic DQ.
So he was really worried about you pinching him, but then he comes in and slams in the back of you.
Right, and he says he'll tell you that I just slammed on the brakes, and it's probably a little bit of both. But like if I would have done that to somebody, I would have went and apologized, and I just got none of that. And then he started to race myself and Tom, my teammate, dirtier than I would like. Like I said, I don't rub guys. I don't do that type of thing. So I didn't like to see that. And then just some of the stuff the comments that he made on social media. At one point in time, I'd had enough of it and called him out, and it kind of blew up. And then at this point, he's got me blocked on everything, so I don't really see anything.
Wow.
It's just and it's as a fan, from a fan perspective, it's got to be awesome, right? You got two guys that are kind of in the pinnacle of their career, and we are just like hard-nosed to beat each other. So we've had some pretty epic battles, in Beausejour, in Eagle River, in Valcourt. So from a fan perspective and even like a USSA perspective, I'd be laying into that as
Yep.
far as a marketing deal.
For sure.
But you know, it is what it is, and you know, can you be buddies with everybody at the track? Probably, but at some point in time, there's going to be a run in, and guys aren't gonna like you for something. So
Yeah.
it's pretty complicated. Sometimes it's really dumb, but
I didn't even know it got to that point,
Mhm.
to where he was blocking you.
yeah,
Wow. He must be really upset that you're kind of beating him.
right. And I wouldn't even say it's that, right? Because we went to a lot of places that, you know, this past year, yeah, we won a lot of races, but in years prior, besides Eagle River, he was a candidate to win everywhere we went. It was, you know, I never understood the frustration to that point. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I can feel a guy when you're frustrated you didn't win something, but to take it to that level,
Yeah.
kind
Pretty serious.
yeah, it is. It is. But like you say, you know, it's probably good for the sport. We're two guys on top of our game, and our crews are on top of it. So it does make a good show.
Very good show.
Mhm.
And now that I know that, I'm going to be making some Instagram memes of you guys.
Yeah, there you go.
You know?
Are you the championship snowcross meme guy?
I am not.
Oh,
I'm
I
not.
thought you just outed yourself.
Yeah, no. I wish. I wish. We're still trying to figure who that is out.
Right.
I have an idea of who it is.
Yeah. Alex Fortune.
He keeps denying it every time I come up to him in the pits. He's like, "Dude, it's not me. I swear to God." And I'm like, "I don't believe you, but I have a couple people on my radar of who it might be."
Yep.
You know, I got Haley Shanley on there. I think it's her.
Oh yeah,
You
that's a
know?
good pick.
Because she's
That would be completely under the radar.
yeah, and she's also she knows a lot of info.
She does, yeah.
You know, so it kind of makes sense, but it also makes sense for Alex Fortune. There's a couple other people.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
I do believe it was. It wasn't last year. It was 2 years. 2 years ago at Heyday, somebody asked me. They were like, "Yo, dude, you're the champ or champ memes guy." I'm like, "I am not. I am not." And they were like, "You're lying." I'm like, dude, I'm not. Here's my phone. Look at it. You know, I got called out.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
But it's cool. You know, that keeps it interesting. That's, you know, keeps the spice into the sport. But that's pretty intense
Yeah.
for you guys.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's part of it now, and I really this past year I really tried to get away from it and just focus on ourselves, and it went really well, but you know we still had controversy, so it's
Hopefully when everything is done and all the racing, you guys retire or whatever, you guys become the Chad Reed and the James Stewart of the sport. You know, that'd be cool. He unblocks you on social media, and you guys,
right.
you know, go into the booth and call whatever. You know, that'd be cool.
Yep.
You know, be kind of grown-ups about it.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess we'll see how it works.
Yeah, for sure. Anything can change.
Yep.
You did say earlier in the podcast that you do have a regular job outside of racing. What is that?
Yeah, so I'm a salesman for Arnold's. We're a farm machinery dealer for Case IH.
Okay.
So I work every day with tractors and combines, and at this particular time we're getting into the hay stuff. So it's quite a bit, you know, off the path of racing and snowmobiles. I used to work at a power sports dealership, but changed careers here a year and a half ago. But it's good because they let me do what I need in the winter, and it kind of slows down after January 1st. So like we have an Ontario and then Valcourt back to back. We just stayed out there because, you know, everybody can work remote nowadays, and that's just kind of an understood thing. So it was nice. But yeah, continue to grow that career and yeah, enjoy it.
The typical Midwest kind of vibe.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Work in agriculture.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the mountain riders do it too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. There's quite a few guys that are in it. You know, Logan Christian, he's big time farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to catch up with those guys and just kind of see how it's going, and there's a little bit of camaraderie there on what their life is like.
For sure, outside of racing.
Yep.
Back to that whole personality thing.
Yep.
Which is really cool.
It is.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, that's all I got. Question wise, is there anything else that you kind of want to add since we wrap up here?
Not really. Just want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors: Polaris, Wall Brothers, FXR, 60 helmets, Woody's Traction, Two Extreme Designs, Omni Training Facility, Power Mad. Just everybody that helps us out. My parents, my wife, the Betcher family, the Wall family, my teammate Tom, just the Beaners, all just our whole group that goes to races and allows me to do this and have it in good company. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And where can everybody find you? Obviously, Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
YouTube.
Yep. So at Stephenson102 is my Instagram handle. If you just search Blaine Stephenson102 on Facebook, you should be able to find all of my stuff there. We're hopefully going to do a new merch drop soon. We haven't done one in a couple of years. So I probably need to clearance out the rest of the stuff that I got. But yeah, watch for that. And then our YouTube channel, just Blaine Stephenson102 again. Check out all the vlogs. Hit subscribe. It always helps.
For sure. I'm definitely going to hit the subscribe button.
Sweet. I think I'm close to 1,000 people, so it'd be good.
Nice. You're getting up to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been awesome.
Absolutely. It's cool. It's cool to get, more of a backstory of ice oval racing and, get to meet you and your story. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So this was, like I said, episode 11 of the Vignette podcast. And if you guys like this podcast, hit that like button, hit that follow button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you again, Blaine.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yep.
Awesome.
Thanks.